So it's a funny situation for Celtic and Celtic fans at the moment. On the surface, it looks great. You've won the treble twice. You're going into a third season. You're hot favourites to do it again. Yet, not all is well with Celtic at the moment. So I've got Ryan118, great YouTube channel talking about Celtic, all things Celtic, to join me now to have a chat, mate. We want to talk about this, get to the bottom of this, because unlike the Premier League, the transfer window goes on to the end of the month, and Celtic haven't spent that much yet. But and then there's a strange little feeling around Celtic, a bit of upset at that transfer window. Obviously, being knocked out of the Champions League as well is a huge thing for Celtic. Let's go back to the start of this season.
Aye.
Going into it, Ryan.
Yep.
What was the feeling? You can see Gerrard on the horizon, but you've got a Celtic team that has been unparalleled almost in the success that it's had in the last few seasons. All was rosy, right?
Aye. I think coming off the back of 2 trebles, it's something that's never been done before. So you're going into a new season, and I think the expectation was, right, let's just do it all over again. Let's get off to a good start. Let's get back into the Champions League, and let's just hope that we can dominate the league again and dominate every domestic competition. So I think there's a lot of excitement, but at the same time, I think after the first few weeks, it's just been a wee bit of discontent amongst fans, and a wee bit of doubt in situations and areas. But I mean, I think there's a lot of excitement to go and get, because I feel like if we go and get this treble, if that's a possibility, if we can think about that, then this season could be even better than the last two. There's always that possibility. There's a possibility it could be worse than the last two, but I think there's always that possibility it could improve.
As a fan and looking at the team itself, can you sometimes go into a season and start to kind of almost, not get weary of winning, but can it get a bit lackadaisical in terms of how a team kind of evolves and gets better? Going into this season, with Rangers being as poor as they have been in the last couple of seasons, do you think there's a little bit of kind of the gluttony of what Celtic have been able to enjoy in the last few seasons and the distance between Rangers and Celtic? Do you think that's crept up on you a little bit with the start of this that you've had this season? Because obviously you lost to Hearts, lost to AEK Athens. It's the first time that Celtic have lost back-to-back games under Brendan Rodgers. Does it feel a bit flabby?
Well, I think, right, as I say, as the first few weeks came in, I think there's a wee bit of discontent that's set in. There's a wee bit of doubt there. Ultimately, I think Celtic, and I think a lot of fans would agree with me in saying, we're the only team in the top half of the table who have failed to improve our team. We've made one signing, and even at that, it was a player who we had on loan last season. So really, there wasn't an addition there. It's really just the same squad we've got. So we're the only team who's really not improved. And I think teams are, slowly catching up on us. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I think we've got a winning team. We've got a team who are motivated and they know how to play. And Brendan Rodgers has came in and he's improved every single player. There was players at the club who looked done, who looked like they shouldn't be in a Celtic shirt. They should have been sold long ago. And Brendan Rodgers has came in, he's improved these guys. He came in and improved Callum McGregor, Boyata, a long list of players. He's came in and he's absolutely transformed their careers. So we've got a really motivated squad there, a squad that knows how to play. But I think sometimes there needs a wee bit of freshening up, and I think we need to add something, just a wee extra bit of a flair to the squad, just to kind of, get a wee bit of motivation, a kick up the backside, and just keep moving on and keep dominating the league. Yeah, and
it's about strengthening when you're on top, isn't it? So that's where I think some of the frustration for Celtic fans is because you can kind of, it's that, if you're running a race, the guy in front of you, when you can see him, that pushes you on. When you're out in front, there's only one way to really look, and it's over your shoulder. And you've got Rangers kicking off with a great start to their season. Let's talk about the transfer window for a second, and the money that Celtic have. Obviously, with the Champions League money that's coming over the last couple of seasons, with the success from that and getting into the group stage, do you think that's played a factor in the fact that you've only signed one player so far? The fact that you're not in the Champions League now? Were they waiting for that money, that new... The security of knowing that next cash injection was coming?
I would strongly agree with that statement. I think we made the signing in Edouard right at the start of the window because I feel like that was one that Brendan Rodgers desperately wanted over the line. I think he needed that, and he wanted that, and he needed that security of having such a quality player. And then I think because it was such a hefty... we smashed our transfer record. We've never spent £9 million on a player before. So I think it was a real... I think the board sat down and went, right... that's a lot of money. and we need to because we're spending money on other things. We're getting all these things done in the stadium renovations and everywhere else. And in Celtic, there's improvements and funding getting put in. So I think the board have laid that mark at Brendan Rodgers and said, look, we need to get into the Champions League before we start spending money. And obviously we failed to do that. So now we're in a situation where I think Peter Lawwell, and I've stressed this many times on channel, I think Peter Lawwell now is sitting in a place where he is very reluctant to spend anything because we've failed to make the Champions League. I think he's going to sit there and I think he's going to say, look, we've not met the objective, we're not in the Champions League. What is the point in spending loads more when we're not in the competition we need to be and should be in? So I think the Champions League was definitely one of the main objectives for Brendan Rodgers to get more money spent, and now we're in a situation where we don't really know if anything else will be spent. So it's a difficult one to say the least. It
is so difficult because it's such a cutthroat thing in the future of your club. And it's so early in the season for you to have such pressure on that. Normally things come to a conclusion at the end of the season, but when you're in August and you've got to get those things sorted out, that's a big problem. The disaster would be to miss out on the title and lose it to Rangers when you're looking to get that record-breaking run of league titles in a row. Ryan, I want to talk about Dedryck Boyata because there's been a lot of controversy around him staying at Celtic or leaving. There was a bid from Fulham for $9 million that was rejected. The agent of Boyata then came out, took a swipe at Celtic, saying that he was confused that Boyata wasn't given an improved deal, and they couldn't afford to do that, supposedly Celtic, but they could afford to turn down the $9 million from Fulham. What is the reason behind Celtic not taking that? Do you think it is financial, or do you think it is just down to the fact that you want to keep your best players?
I think it's definitely down to the fact that Brendan Rodgers has installed so much faith in the guy. As I was saying, the improvements in players, and he is certainly one of the ones we can pick out and talk about improvements. He's a guy who went from sitting on the bench every week, struggling to get into the team, to then coming into the first team, constantly improving and solidifying his place as the first choice centre back. So, I mean, I firmly believe it's due to the fact that Brendan Rodgers wanted to keep him at the club, because at the end of the day, £9 million is an offer that anybody who was dealing with that transfer, whether it be Brendan Rodgers or Peter Lawwell, whoever it was, it's an offer that I don't think Celtic should have turned down, because I would have bitten the hand off. Dedryck Boyata is a solid player.
Really?
I think he's a good player, but he's a bit dodgy, a bit of a bomb scare. So I think £9 million, to be honest.
Really, I'm surprised you say that, because I would have thought. I would have thought someone, he's had that great World Cup. This is the Belgium squad. This is the best Belgium squad of all time. I would have thought that, because that was going to be my next question, was like, $9 million, would you have taken that? Because I think when you're looking at huge amounts for, say, Mina at Everton, I would have thought you'd be thinking you could get at least $20 million for this guy. Am I well overboard there then?
At the end of the day, I would love to imagine that we could ask for $20 million for players, but I mean, when it comes to Celtic, and it comes to Scottish football, I just feel like it is really hard to push for higher prices. I feel like it's something that we just can't really do. So I mean, £9 million is pretty much a big bit of money for us. And in my opinion, it would be daylight robbery if we took $9 million for Dedryck Boyata, because I just don't see him as a £9 million player. Yeah, he done well at the World Cup. He got noticed, got attention, but when you see him in these bigger games for Celtic, he is prone to have an error in him. He's not the most comfortable of defenders, so $9 million I think is an offer we should never have turned down. Right. I mean, if we could push for 20, I would try, but I think that would be where Celtic just fall, and that we would just get nothing at all, because I don't think anybody would match that.
Yeah. So those constraints of what you've got to deal with in the Scottish League, in terms of the money that you can spend and then the money that you can get for these players as well when you do develop them. Do you think that's something that Brendan Rodgers might get tired of sooner or later? Where do you think he is in his kind of journey with Celtic? Do you think he's got a long way to go? He wants to stay there for a long time, or do you think he might be tempted to go elsewhere, in maybe not this season, but maybe in the next season or a season and a half?
Well, in an ideal world, I'd love to see Brendan Rodgers stay at Celtic for 30 years, get a stand named after him, and bring all the trophies home that he could. But and being realistic, I think, I'm very confident he'll stay out and see his deal. I think he'll stay for 10 in a row. I see him staying the next 3 seasons.
What's his deal to, just for people to know?
It's just, I think it's 3, at the end of this season it'll be 2 more years after that. So it's still 3 years left in his contract. I think he'll see that out. I see him staying at the club and trying to get 10 in a row. He keeps reiterating that he loves his life at Celtic. He was born a Celtic fan, Celtic family. He's a massive fan of the club and he's got so much passion. And yeah, sometimes, it might get tiresome, and maybe he will sit down and realise, I could really take my game somewhere else. I could go and win trophies down south again. I can try my hand in the Premier League. And I'm sure teams will be interested over the next few seasons, but I really do have firm confidence that he will stay. And then maybe when we do win 10 in a row, maybe when that deal is up, he will move on. I think Celtic fans can be happy with that and appreciate what he has brought to the club, because he's one of the greatest managers we've ever had at this point with the success he's brought.
And obviously, look, if we're going to talk about Celtic, we need to talk about Rangers. The old firm is on the horizon. Rangers have had a really good start. If you can, I can't see it happening if I'm honest, but if you can, put your bias aside. How am I saying this to a Celtic fan to talk about Rangers? If you can try and be as neutral as possible, when you're looking at the start, I'm wasting my time, aren't I? when you're looking at Rangers' start to the season, and there's such a presence with Gerrard. He's come in, and it's been a mess, hasn't it, for Rangers since they've got back into the Premier League, certainly with the managers.
Yep.
What's your appraisal of Rangers so far? They've brought in a lot of players. Do you think they've got something? Do you think they're going to get a lot closer to you this year?
I think they will get closer. There's no denying that. I think they've had a great. There's no denying they've had a great start. I can't sit and say they've not. They've played well. They've done got so far in the Europa League, which is they got knocked out off a team in Progress Niedercom, wherever they were from again. I can't remember last season. Embarrassingly, one of the most humiliating defeats, and they've moved on so much now they're in the last round of the qualifying. They could make the group stage. So Steven Gerrard has came in. He's got them off to a cracking start. I think they will get closer. Ultimately, I still think we will win the title, and I still think we'll win it by a few points. But it's going to get closer. There's no denying that. But I imagine when we get to this Old Firm game on September 2nd, that will give us a far greater image of where the two teams are at and how close Rangers have came to us, because it can go any way at Celtic Park in September. We can go and win 5-0 again if we want, but I imagine they will challenge us and give us a closer and tougher season.
Yeah, I think you're right. And with the real challenge is going to be that Old Firm. And speaking of which, there's been a difference in the ticket allocation, which is something that I think is disappointing a lot of Celtic fans, and is going to end up disappointing a lot of Rangers fans as well. What is the situation there? I'm seeing that Rangers are only going to give any of the away fans this season 800 tickets, which is tiny, and therefore that's going to be Celtic as well, only going to get 800 tickets, whereas previously it's been a lot more. Why has this happened, and what are your thoughts on that finally?
Well, Rangers released a statement and they claim it was to meet the demand for season tickets, and they wanted to have as many season ticket holders in the stadium and just ultimately please their fans. Meanwhile, a lot of Celtic fans, and I'm not saying myself, a lot of Celtic fans will give you the excuse or the reason it's purely down to the fact they are fed up of Celtic fans constantly having parties every time we go to Ibrox and beat them. So you can look at it whatever way you like, but Rangers I think have really shot themselves in the foot. Reducing it to 800, I feel like it takes a lot away from the game. It takes a lot away from the atmosphere. And they've shot themselves in the foot. The fact is, now they've been treated the same way, and only fairly. I think Celtic have every right to do the exact same. We've matched that, and when Rangers came out and done it, we've done the exact same thing. So, right, if we're only getting 800, you're only getting 800. Yeah. I think that is completely fair. And I think that's going to, it's not going to ruin the game exactly, but I think it's just going to take away from the atmosphere, the fun, and a bit of that excitement. I love the back and forth between the fans, and Rangers have taken that away. And I'm really unsure as to why. I understand that you want to please your season ticket holders, you want to have as many as your own fans in the stadium, but it's such a big match, such a historic match. Why take away from what makes this one of the greatest derbies in world football? And they've took away a lot from it. I can't understand why. Ryan,
thank you so much, mate, for chatting to us, giving us a bit more context to what's going on at Celtic at the moment. Where can people find you, mate?
Just YouTube, Ryan 118, just search out of the bar, but the first bit comes up, the green and white, that's what you need to look for. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Ryan Stephen F as well. That's where I like to post the majority of my thoughts, not just about Scottish football, but English football as well. So people there as well, there you go.
Brilliant. So yeah, go check out Ryan's channel. If you've got to this stage of the video, then maybe you've got something out of it. If you have done, then why not hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well, and let us know your thoughts on the whole situation with Celtic this season, Brendan Rodgers, Steven Gerrard, Rangers, and the Old Firm as well in the comments below, and we'll see you soon.